Toxic positivity in religion and philosophy. Dear viewer, we've all encountered the relentlessly cheerful, perpetually optimistic people who seem to exist in a state of unwavering bliss, no matter the circumstances. While a sunny disposition can be a wonderful thing, there's a darker side to relentless positivity, a phenomenon known as toxic positivity, and it can be particularly insidious within the realms of religion and philosophy. Instead of offering genuine comfort and support, toxic positivity within these spaces can actually hinder spiritual growth, create a culture of shame, and ultimately create more harm than good. The power of positive thinking is a popular idea, but it's also a cruel one. It implies that if you're not feeling good, it's because you're not thinking positively enough. Mark Manson, New York Times, best-selling author. Think of it like this. Life throws us curveballs. Sometimes those curveballs are aimed directly at your emotional solar plexus. Grief, doubt, anger, fear. These are all valid human experiences. Yet within some religious and philosophical circles, the message is subtly, or not so subtly, conveyed that these so-called negative emotions are somehow a sign of weakness, a lack of faith, or a failure to properly apply rigid doctrine principles. This is where toxic positivity takes root, transforming a potentially supportive community into a breeding ground for emotional repression and spiritual bypassing. So, what does toxic positivity look like in these contexts? Let's take a moment untangling this. Origins of toxic positivity. One of the earliest and most influential proponents of this ideology was the 19th century philosopher Émile Coué. Coué's philosophy, known as optimism, emphasized the power of positive thinking in overcoming life's challenges. While his ideas may have been well-intentioned, they laid the groundwork for the more recent toxic positivity movement. Characteristics of toxic positivity. So, dear viewer, here are some common characteristics for toxic positivity in religious and philosophical contexts. Emotional suppression. Toxic positivity often encourages individuals to suppress or deny their distressing emotions. This can lead to emotional numbing or stuffing, making it challenging for people to acknowledge and process their feelings in a healthy way. It's like holding up an umbrella in a hurricane and saying, "Everything's fine." It ignores the magnitude of the storm and offers a flimsy solution. Unrealistic expectations. Toxic positivity frequently promotes unrealistic expectations about spiritual growth, personal development, and life outcomes. When these expectations aren't met, individuals may feel guilty, ashamed, or inadequate. Spiritual bypassing. This is a phenomenon where individuals use spiritual practices or beliefs to avoid dealing with their emotional, psychological, or social problems. Lack of empathy and support. Toxic positivity can create a culture where individuals are discouraged from expressing their struggles or emotions. This can lead to a lack of empathy and support for those who are genuinely struggling. Overemphasis on personal responsibility. Toxic positivity often places an overemphasis on personal responsibility, implying that individuals have complete control over their circumstances. This ignores the impact of systemic injustices, trauma, and structural barriers on people's lives. Religious contexts. Double-edged sword of faith. Many religions espouse the importance of maintaining a positive outlook and trusting in a higher power. While this can provide comfort and strength, it can also lead to the dismissal of genuine human struggles. Christianity. The Christian doctrine often emphasizes the importance of joy, gratitude, and unwavering faith in God's plan. Scriptures like Philippians 4:4 says, "Rejoice in the Lord always." I will say it again, rejoice. And 1 Thessalonians 5:18 says, "Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus." These quotes highlight the virtue of positivity. However, when taken to the extreme, these teachings can lead to an environment where expressing doubt, sadness, or anger is frowned upon. Congregants might feel pressured to present a facade of unwavering faith and happiness, even when they're struggling deeply. Buddhism. With its teachings on detachment and the impermanence of suffering, Buddhism offers profound insights into handling life's challenges. The idea of maintaining a calm, serene demeanor is central to many Buddhist practices. However, this can sometimes translate to an expectation of emotional suppression. Instead of addressing and processing feelings of pain or anger, practitioners might feel compelled to quickly detach and move on, leading to unprocessed emotions festering beneath the surface. Hinduism. The concept of karma in Hinduism is the idea that everything happens for a reason, and this can offer solace to many. The Bhagavad Gita's teachings emphasize maintaining equanimity in the face of life's ups and downs. However, this can sometimes result in a dismissive attitude towards genuine suffering, with individuals being told to accept their fate and focus on the spiritual lessons, rather than addressing and processing their pain. Just pray about it Band-Aid. Religion can be a powerful source of comfort during times of hardship. However, toxic positivity can twist this comfort into a dismissive platitude. Imagine someone grappling with the loss of a loved one. Instead of offering a shoulder to cry on or acknowledging the depth of their pain, they're met with a well-meaning, yet ultimately invalidating, "Just pray about it." This response often shuts down any further discussion of the actual emotions being experienced. It implies that feeling grief is somehow wrong, a sign of insufficient faith. This can lead to feelings of shame and isolation, as the grieving individual feels unable to express their true feelings within their religious community. The same can be said for those struggling with doubt. Questioning one's faith is often a natural part of the spiritual journey, yet in environments rife with toxic positivity, these questions are often met with judgment rather than open dialogue. Toxic positivity in this setting is like playing a game of emotional whack-a-mole, where individuals are forced to constantly suppress and hide their true emotions. Shadow side of "everything happens for a reason." The phrase "everything happens for a reason" is a common refrain in many religious and spiritual traditions. While it can be a source of comfort for some, it can also be incredibly hurtful when used in a context of toxic positivity. Imagine someone who has just experienced a traumatic event. Being told that everything happens for a reason can feel dismissive and invalidating, as if their pain is somehow part of a divine plan and that they should just get over it. This phrase can also place an unfair burden on the individual, suggesting that they are somehow responsible for their suffering. This can induce guilt and prevent individuals from processing their trauma and seeking the help they need. Philosophical contexts. Stoicism and its modern misinterpretations. Philosophy, much like religion, offers various perspectives on handling life's challenges. One philosophy that has recently seen a resurgence in popularity is Stoicism. This ancient Greek philosophy teaches the development of self-control and fortitude as a means to overcome destructive emotions. Stoicism. At its core, Stoicism teaches that we should not be disturbed by external events, but rather focus on our internal reactions. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." While this can be empowering, modern interpretations of Stoicism can sometimes veer into toxic positivity. The idea that one should remain unfazed by external events can lead to the suppression of genuine emotions and the dismissal of personal struggles as mere overreactions. Positive psychology. A more contemporary philosophy, positive psychology, focuses on the strengths and virtues that enable individuals and communities to thrive. While its emphasis on cultivating happiness and well-being has merit, it can sometimes leak into toxic positivity. By constantly pushing individuals to focus on their strengths and maintain a positive outlook, it can inadvertently invalidate their distressing experiences and emotions. Philosophical Pollyanna. Ignoring the human condition. Certain philosophical schools, particularly those emphasizing positive thinking or detachment, can also fall prey to toxic positivity. While these philosophies often offer valuable tools for managing difficult emotions, they can be misused to justify emotional suppression. For example, someone struggling with anxiety or depression might be told to simply change their perspective or focus on the present moment, neglecting the underlying causes of their distress and the need for professional help. This isn't to say that these philosophical principles are inherently harmful. The problem arises when they're used as a blanket solution for all emotional woes, ignoring the complexity of human experience. It's like trying to fix a broken leg with a positive affirmation which might make you feel better for a moment, but it's not going to address the underlying issue. Tyranny of the good vibes only culture. Toxic positivity is the excessive and ineffective overgeneralization of a happy, optimistic state across all situations. The process of toxic positivity results in the denial, minimization, and invalidation of the authentic human emotional experience. Dr. Jaime Zuckerman, clinical psychologist. One of the most damaging aspects of toxic positivity is the creation of a good vibes-only culture. This can be particularly prevalent in online communities, where individuals are pressured to constantly project an image of unwavering positivity. Any expression of distressing emotion is seen as a disruption, a negative Nancy ruining the otherwise blissful atmosphere. This pressure to always appear happy can be incredibly isolating, as it prevents individuals from forming genuine connections with others. After all, how can you truly connect with someone when you're both pretending to be perpetually joyful? This performative positivity can also hinder spiritual growth, as it prevents individuals from engaging in honest self-reflection and addressing their shadow selves. Spiritual bypassing, shortcut to nowhere. Toxic positivity often goes hand in hand with spiritual bypassing, a term coined by Buddhist teacher and psychotherapist John Welwood. Spiritual bypassing involves using spiritual practices and beliefs to avoid dealing with difficult emotions or unresolved psychological issues. For example, someone might use forgiveness as a way to avoid setting healthy boundaries or addressing abusive behavior. They might tell themselves that they need to forgive and forget, even though the other person hasn't taken responsibility for their actions. This isn't genuine forgiveness. It's a way to avoid confronting the pain and anger associated with the abuse. Similarly, someone might use mindfulness or meditation to suppress unwanted emotions rather than exploring the root causes of those emotions. While mindfulness and meditation can be incredibly beneficial, these methods can also be misused as a form of escapism. So, dear viewer, it's been said that life is like the yin and yang symbol. Light and dark, joy and sorrow are intertwined and necessary for balance. Trying to eliminate one disrupts the harmony of the whole. Consequences of toxic positivity. The consequences in religions and philosophies can be far-reaching and damaging. Toxic positivity can lead to emotional suppression, numbing, and other mental health issues. When individuals are discouraged from expressing their emotions, they may struggle to develop healthy emotional regulation strategies. Other types of emotional damage can include suppression of feelings, invalidation of emotions, spiritual disconnection, strained relationships, lack of personal growth, unrealistic expectations, as well as stigma and shame. Toxic positivity is like a mirror maze where individuals are trapped in a cycle of superficial positivity and unable to see themselves or feel their feelings clearly. Avoiding toxic positivity, seeing beyond the emperor's new clothes. To prevent toxic positivity, religions and philosophies can acknowledge suffering, recognize that pain and struggle are part of the human experience, and validate people's emotions. Encourage authenticity. Create spaces where people can express their doubts, fears, and frustrations without judgment. This includes the willingness to go beyond the garden where only flowers are allowed to bloom. Promote balance. Teach that positivity and gratitude are valuable, but should not come at the expense of ignoring or suppressing distressing emotions. A supportive community is like a lifeboat in a storm. It doesn't stop the storm, but it keeps you afloat until the waters calm. Offer practical support. Combine spiritual or philosophical guidance with practical help, such as counseling, community support, or medical care. Moving beyond toxic positivity. Toxic positivity is the assumption that we should always be happy and that any other emotion is bad or wrong. It's a denial of the full human experience. Whitney Goodman, psychotherapist. So, dear viewer, how do we combat toxic positivity within religious and philosophical communities? The first step is awareness. We need to recognize the subtle ways in which it manifests and the harm it can cause. We need to create spaces where individuals feel safe to express the full range of human emotions without fear of judgment or condemnation. This means fostering a culture of empathy, compassion, and genuine support. It means acknowledging that spiritual growth is not about suppressing negative emotions, but about integrating them into a holistic understanding of oneself. It means recognizing that sometimes the most spiritual thing we can do is to simply sit with someone in their pain without offering platitudes or trying to fix their problems. Moving beyond toxic positivity means understanding that faith and philosophy are not about pretending that everything is okay. It's about finding meaning and purpose in the midst of life's inevitable challenges. True spirituality embraces the light and the shadow, the joy and the sorrow, the certainty and the doubt. So, dear viewer, it is in this messy, beautiful, and sometimes painful web of human experience that we truly find ourselves and connect with something larger than ourselves.